Yeah, all right. I'm going to start straight into the talk, and because I'm prepared maybe a bit too much. And yeah, I'm really happy to be standing here to share my previous research on fleabane. As Bill already said, I started work on fleabane in 2003 when I was based in Toowoomba with Queensland DPI. And then I moved down to New South Wales, and in 2006, that's why someone said I probably brought the weed with me. And yeah, fleabane has been a weed for more than 10 years now in the northern Grand region, but in the southern region, there was really a big explosion of the fleabane issues in the last couple of years because we have wet summers. And now we can see everywhere roadside irrigation channels, and especially this picture. This year, driving around the country, you see so many paddies, wall to wall, just like that, never been touched, and producing million seeds, and we will have more headaches in the coming years. And basically also there's a limited research in the pastures, a key component in the northern farm, in the southern farming system. My talk, I think, will be heavily on biology bit, and I'll touch a bit on fellow controls and a little bit pastures if I have time. And basically, we had to know what sort of species we are talking about. I hope everybody recognizes what sort of species we have in your area. And basically, there are about 7 species in Australia, and most common one will be the top 3 species. And let's give you a broader picture of the distribution. The flaxleaf fleabane, mostly widely distributed, followed by the tall fleabane albida, and then canadensis. Actually, there are 2 varieties of canadensis. Canadian fleabane, one is the canadensis, the other is parva. As you can see in other regions, there are lots of flaxleaf fleabane, and if you look at early botanical records, it can be dated back in 1840s. And this is a bit, this is a typical picture of flaxleaf fleabane. You got stemmed branches over the top of the main stem, but sometimes you can still get the single stems, depending on the growing conditions and the habitat. And this is a tall one. I know you guys experience a tall one in this region as well. Yeah, most often in the gardens and also in the roadside. I have a chat with a Newfoundland guide here. I think you do have this fleabane around, especially in orchard. And I was really lucky to be able to take a picture of these. I was driving around. I was so desperate trying to get a Canadian fleabane. I did see some isolated individuals, but not like an area like this. This is different species, and quite often they are single stems. But sometimes, somehow, if the main stem being damaged, you can have a lot of branches as well. And these are more yellowish looking. And yeah, you can also find 2 species co-growing in the same paddy. Anyone find this Canadian fleabane in this area? Maybe we just not notice it. And I see so many also in the same paddy you can share flaxleaf fleabane with a tall fleabane, and also sometimes you can have 3 together. And these are the key differences among fleabane, 3 key fleabane species. I just took this picture. I don't know, someone sprayed on the roadside. As you can see, this broadleaf tall fleabane start dying, and this normal flaxleaf fleabane still healthy. So there might be some different herbicide response going on in the paddy. Now I'll go to a bit more detail in terms of biology. As you can see from this one, the fleabane produces a massive amount of seeds. And about 80% of those seeds are viable. There's no dormancy required. And these three key features have really important implications on the management. One important issue is to really have to stop CSAT, especially this year we see so many mature fleabane spots producing seeds. And based on the overseas research, basically from emerge to bolting take about 11 weeks, and another 3 weeks to flowering. So could potentially we have 3 or 2 generations per year for these early mature fleabane species. But I haven't really got data to prove that yet. And another important issue is the long distance dispersal, because this weed has a really peppers attached to the seeds. And then whenever you have strong wind, big thunderstorm coming, and also this one I pick up a lot of seed in the irrigation channels. Irrigation channel carry you miles away. So let's highlight the importance in management. We really have individual growers really hard to win a battle. We really to have look at the system approach. You have to target fallows, in crop, as well as pastures and cropping land, as well as non-cropping land, fence lines and roadside. Otherwise, if you do a good job on your paddy, but you might get wind blow into the paddy, reinfest your paddy, and then all the control effort just wasted. And this weed have really aggressive growth. I guess in early on we have dry years. We didn't really pay much attention to the fleabane, but they sure there will be some fleabanes because they're tough taproot system, growing in the system and producing seeds, and then just wait for a good drink in the last couple of summers, and then we have a massive explosion. Another trait is that it can regrow even using chipping or knockdown with paraquat. It just nicely regrows. And this picture is going to show you the massive regrowth just after harvest. And this picture basically showing one application of herbicide is really not enough. We do need a sequential application because it's regrowth. And basically data also literature also show it's a high trichome density under scanning microscope. It have lots of trichomes on the leaf surface with a tiny little stomata. And all these features basically we really need a high management input, which means we have to use a robust higher rate, sequential applications, and more often we have to use also the herbicide mixtures. The other thing, because we have a problem with foliar uptake, so we really have to combine with foliar uptake with any sort of residual herbicide through root action. And this basically show you fleabane prefer cool and moist conditions in between temperature 5 to 35 degrees. And we had a few emerging count this year. Basically, a lot emerging in southern New South Wales coming up in summer, early spring, and we do have late germinators. So that means a lot of management effort you have to target this early emergence. So this translates into fallow control, also your early emergent control in the pasture situations. And then this one we have in crop. We really have to late emerging, post-emerging application to target the survivors. And because of those staggered emergence, so we can't really find the perfect timing in terms of weed stages early. At any time of the year, you'll find the fleabane at all sorts of different stages. This means you also will have use a sequential application. This picture just to show you fleabane are really sensitive to burial. That's why a lot of research said tactical cultivation, even minimum tillage or chisel plow, that sort of stuff will help inhibit fleabane emergence. And fleabane persists actually quite well in the system, depending on the burial depth on the surface, still about 1.3% after 3 years. But please don't underestimate that 1.3% if you think about a massive seed produced by individuals. So you still have to keep good monitoring of the paddy, even individuals. If you left uncontrolled, or you have to start back to square one. And I look at the database, there are only a few registered herbicides. I'm not going to go through all that. And basically there's a very limited registration for in-crop or partial. Yeah, I'm going to touch a little bit on fallows. I just want to highlight the very important after harvest applications. You can see them be chopped off during harvest, but this one, because below the harvest height, and after a couple of weeks, it shot up quite easily. So this means growers after harvest can't really have a good holiday break. We really have to come in early and start doing some action. Otherwise, it will be something like that. It will be too late. Just getting tougher. You won't get good control of it. I just want to finish this off with, I've got a couple other research on pasture, but I'm not going to go through that. I hope for this one basically in a lesson from knockdown fallow control. Basically, my experience said that there's no single herbicide can have a good control on fleabane unless you start on a very small weeds. You have to come up with all sorts of herbicide mixtures, even three-way mixtures, and there's another one with non-glyphosate-based mixtures. I want to highlight this one. Everyone talk about knockdown, glyphosate, but followed by paraquat. I'm getting very concerned about that because it's so reliable and highly effective, sometimes even on mature fleabane. Just look at this global picture in the US already evolved multiple resistance to glyphosate and paraquat. So we have to be careful when we are thinking about using the double knock every now and then. So we have to come up with other second applications. And this picture showing not the residuals have good control in terms of long-term residual control. In this case, actually, atrazine and primestra give you about 5 or 6 months emergent suppression. So in this case, we really have to come up with a combination of knockdown herbicide combined with residual herbicide to have in order to have a clean paddy.
I guess a lot of the observations I'm making are in regard to fleabane heading away on some of our pulse stubbles, and I know many growers have gone out and applied some glyphosate ester mixtures to try and control it, but you can see it's actually kind of hanging in there at the moment. So what would be your suggestion for those growers to do at the moment, given we've sort of 3/4 killed them, I reckon?
Yeah, now I think lots of mature fleabane will be already setting seeds and just so tough to control. I'm not sure. So in fallow situation, I think you just have to come up with a sequential application with herbicide mixtures. Otherwise, as I said, any single herbicide, you won't have any hope.